within minutes, we're opening up an FDIC insured business bank account for the business.
Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hello and welcome back to Pillars of Wealth Creation. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. With me, excited to have Travis Smith. Travis, how are you doing today?
Todd, I'm doing so great. And
Awesome.
Thanks for having me on the show. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, excited to have you on too. We're going to talk a lot about what your company's doing, Tribevest, and where you guys are going in the future. So, Tribevest was founded by Travis to solve a significant problem in investing, so he and his brothers realized that if they're going to make the change in their family's financial trajectory, they'd need to work together. So they wanted to invest as a group, and Travis quickly discovered it required a complicated path, the lawyers, the paperwork, the banking regulations, all that kind of stuff. And he's like, there's got to be a better way. And that is the premise and the idea and the function of Tribevest. So, excited to dive in here. I'm going to let you tell a little bit more about your background, so give our listeners a little bit of a backstory, but I really want to dive into the meat and potatoes. So let's give us your cliff notes of who you are, and then we're going to dive in.
Absolutely. Thanks, Todd. Yeah, Travis Smith, founder and CEO of Tribevest. And as Todd just mentioned, 15 years ago, believe it or not, the origins go back. Now, the company's only 4-ish years old, but the problem that we were solving was hitting us in the head 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And we were early on in our careers. We were kind of checking all the boxes, right? We went to school, got good grades, got a good job, had a good income, contributing to the 401k. And, especially during the Great Recession, which was when this was, kind of realizing that was not going to add up to financial freedom. And we had to, and everybody we knew that was financially free and building wealth were business owners.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were real estate investors. And,
yeah.
and so we had to kind of, how could we break in? And we definitely recognized the power of the tribe, and this idea that we could do more together. We could pool our resources, our know-how, all those things to get over a threshold of going from someone that doesn't own real estate or private investments to someone that does, and a true investor of things. And so that was the problem. And we saw the tribe as a way to solve it, which was absolutely true. But how to do that right was really hard.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, do you need an attorney? Do you need an operating agreement? Who's taking the lead?
Yeah.
Right? It's just so antiquated. Any one of those things on their own, not hard, but when you try to pull it all together, somebody's got to take on that burden.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people probably just kind of give up because like, man, this is a pain. I don't want to deal with this. Who's going to, I got a full-time job. I got a wife and kids or whatever, husband and kids, and, or busy. I just don't want to do this.
Yeah. You get, great ideas. I mean, there's a million people, out there right now, today saying we should do this together, like whatever it is. And they're right. But they often just, hit that reality of, okay, but someone's got to pull this all together. And, enter Tribevest, neutral third-party platform. You can pull out your phone, invite your members. You can, agree on the rules up front. All like setting it up right. We've made it 10 times easier, 10 times faster, 10 times safer, and infinitely more transparent to group invest.
So let's let's dive in there. So the problem is that, hey, I individually, maybe I don't have enough money to invest. I don't have the time to seek out the attorneys and do all that kind of stuff. So the problem is that either I don't have the time or the knowledge to do something, or I don't have the money. Is that kind of mainly who
That's
your
the
target is?
origins.
Yeah.
That's the origins, and we'll talk about that. But I do want to point out quickly, especially for your audience, that it's turned into much more than that,
Okay.
right? Um, there's tribes, especially in real estate investors in syndication, passively investing into real estate syndication.
Hmm.
There's all sorts of applications or use cases for tribe vesting. And absolutely, it's kind of getting over the hurdle or hump as a new investor. And again, we'll talk about that in a second. But I think even the more seasoned, experienced real estate investors are now seeing this as a way to scale their business
Yeah.
and to implement kind of new strategies. For example, coming together with your community to do a mastermind, right? And people you respect and know coming together, learning from each other, and not just in a conversation, but putting capital in and really getting to it.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of investors that would love to get into more deals more often, right? And so they're good at writing 100K checks into the sponsors that they're used to working with, right? But they're less excited if there's a new sponsor, for example, right? So can I form a tribe and write a 25K check with 4 of my buddies and
Take a
get into a new asset class, a new sponsor, or whatever it might be?
Yeah, the that makes sense. The minimum's maybe 100K on that deal, and they're like, "Hey, this is a new sponsor. I don't really know them that well. It's a new asset class. I'm not super well versed in this. Maybe just a kind of a new startup type company. I've done several startup companies, and when the minimum's big, it's like, ooh, I like it. It's exciting, but man, that's a big minimum. And I'm not sure I'm ready to risk that much money on this company yet.
Right.
And so I can see
you want in, you want to learn, but
instead of 50,000 or 100,000 or whatever their minimum is, maybe I only want in at 10,000 or 20 or something like that. So yeah, I can see how that really plays an important role in getting people, hey, let's just group ourselves together and do this thing. So how do you go about finding the right tribe? I mean, do you have it with your company? Do you have a matchmaker, or just certain ways people can connect with each other if you don't already know those people? Because there's a lot of people that have money, but they just don't connect with their peer group. And
I think that's more often the case than not.
I think so too. Yeah.
Right. Like when you level up, I forget what they say, but you're basically kind of leveling up. So if you think about going up, you probably have not left, but you know what I mean, left, 80% of people that you were hanging with before. So you're at a different level. And I think people that are listening to your podcasts and, on their wealth journey and investing in learning and understanding and all those things, more often than not, they've kind of leveled up to the point of, where they don't have peers to kind of come together with, right?
Right. Their friends group is probably still kind of, hey, at that level maybe they were at, but they maybe they don't even strive to achieve wealth, freedom, or anything like that. So, but
Or
like,
don't know what it
or don't
takes.
know what it takes, but you
Yeah.
do, and you're going, hey, I don't know anybody. My friends aren't going to do this. They don't have, $20,000. Uh, how do I find that person? So is
Right.
Tribevest set up to help people do that?
Well, we are, but maybe not how you're thinking.
Okay.
So I'll explain it. We are because we're building a community or network ecosystem
Mm-hmm.
of wealth building stakeholders. So, for example, we're in a lot of cases we're the utility. We don't bring you deals, we don't bring you your tribe. We're a platform that has made it 10 times easier, safer, less
Yeah.
expensive, and transparent to do it, right? So
Yeah.
there's a little bit of like, well, why weren't we group investing before? And it's like, well, technology now makes it
Yeah.
it's a little bit of like, why wasn't Uber here before, right? Well,
Could have been
technology
a
had to
yeah.
happen first, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Airbnb, same thing.
Yeah.
Why wasn't short-term rentals such a big industry before? Well, technology had to happen. So we're very much the utility in this whole ecosystem.
Sure.
Now, what we're so excited about is our integrations with different communities out there. And our friend Jim Pfeiffer from Left Field Investors, for
Yeah.
example. I always reference them. I'm in that community, and just by definition of community, the members have been attracted to this community because they're in similar points in their wealth journey. They have similar
Right.
interests. Their growth mindsets. They're out there seeking friendships and colleagues and best practices and access to new networks. And so just by kind of definition of a community like LFI and Left Field Investors is you have all these people there. And so what Tribevest has done, and this is kind of a new product for us, it's really exciting. What we've done is whenever there's a deal out there, we have the opportunity to open up a tribe. So where before you needed to kind of go through that list of what's going through your mind, you need a founder of a tribe to kind of take on the burden.
Right.
You got to go wrangle a group or find that group. You have to agree and align and all those things. And again, we've made that infinitely more easy, but it's still kind of a lot has to come together. But what we can do through these communities is when a deal comes up, a tribe opens, and it's just based on the deal, right? So it's not like, what's the tribe going to do? All these different things. It basically is, do we want to get into this deal together? Right. And that's kind of the rules and operating agreement of it. It's a single deal entity. And it's really exciting because, again, you can come together. A lot of these opportunities out there, they have a minimum threshold to get in. As you know, it could be 25, could be 50, could be 100K, and that's just kind of to get in. And then there's other kind of thresholds that we've seen a lot of like, hey, if you come in at $500,000 or you come in at $1 million, you get these other benefits. And that's another reason why these tribes are coming together. And not just to get in on the deal, right? I think often we get excited about what this does from a transaction standpoint, being able to give you an opportunity to transact, but it still comes back to the social nature of a tribe where people genuinely want to make decisions together. Yep. And if there's 4 other people in on this deal because they like it, makes me feel good to be, that my decision is a good one. And maybe I don't have to do as much due diligence on this one because I know Sue and Jeff have done a ton of due diligence on it, and I want to come along with it. And I can leverage my network and relationships to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point with what you're talking about with the tribe investing. You've got more than one eyeball on that investment. And so if you've got a group of 4 or 5 or whatever it is, and you're all looking at this deal, hopefully you're all looking at it, right? At least a little bit, but you've got more eyes on it. You've got more brain power going, hey, here's some of the risks. You've got more thought that you're just able to put into it than by yourself. And I mean, that's what has made, I think, a big success in our business is that, as we've grown, um, we have a lot more eyes looking at our deals and just saying, hey, this is a pitfall. We got to look at this. Hey, this is a challenge that's going to come up. Did you think about that? And that just creates a much better investment environment altogether. So I think that's definitely a huge benefit of being in the tribe. What are some of, I mean, there's definitely it's not all roses, right? There's definitely some potential issues, risks, and I'm not talking about the investment in itself, because we all know investing in real estate or investing in a startup company has risks. I mean, we all kind of know that. But what are the risks, or maybe some of the pitfalls, the issues that could come up with investing in a group tribe like this?
Yeah, great question, and very much, our purpose, right? Our purpose out in the world is to make this easy and safe, right? And there's a reason why, if you come from, a middle class, or, you weren't wealthy, there's certain things that we've been told, and that's, don't do business with friends and family, right? And there's a ton of truth to that, right? Now, if you ask the wealthy, they'll tell you to do friends with people like, and trust, right? Yep. And that includes your friends and family more often than not. So what's the disconnect there, right? Well, in the past, wealthy have the resources, the network, the capital to do things the right way. So when they come together with their folks, they're doing operating agreement. They have an attorney at the ready. They might have an advisor taking care of everything on behalf as a neutral third party, right? So yeah, they can easily say do business with friends and family, right? Because they have the resources and infrastructure to do it. Where the rest of us, pre-Tribevest, just to do group investing, we don't have that resource. And as soon as we put everything we have into forming the group, all of a sudden what we were trying to do becomes upside down, doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So your question's a good one. And, so how does Tribevest do that? Well, we do what the wealthy have been doing forever, but we've streamlined it on a technology platform. So you come in, and this is all for $348 a year, by the way. So now there's some other costs that come to this, come from it. Like you have to buy your LLC.
Sure.
If it's Ohio, it's $99.
Sure, it depends on the state.
Registered agent, it's $150. So I didn't want to kind of say it didn't have other things, but the platform, what I'm about to kind of run through is $348 a year, and the founder comes in, builds their plan or their charter, right? And how many members? What's the capital requirement? How are we making decisions? What's our exit look like? What's our strategy? And you agree on the charter of the tribe up front. And that's huge, right? My brothers and I, we did everything wrong. And one of them was we just didn't have a good operating agreement. And so when things come up, and they do, right? what are you going to do? What are we going
Yeah.
to do? Well, we thought, look, we're brothers. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But that's like the dumbest thing you
That's the
could do.
stupidest thing you could do. It just is. Yeah.
Dumbest thing you could do, right? And because then it's emotional,
Yeah.
because it's in the moment. And now your opinion, my opinion, everything else. It's like with Tribevest, you agree on all those things up front. You sign your partnership agreements, and when things come up, you say, "How are we handling this?" And easy, you just go back and say, "Look, but this is how we agreed. We handle it, and that's how we handle it." And
Yep.
so taking the emotion out of it is a huge part of this. So agreeing on the rules up front, and then Todd, it's the magic, the secret sauce of this is we're a neutral third party and transparent platform, right? And the fact that we serve as that neutral third party, and hey, when's the capital due and everything else, it's the platform, right? It's not Todd feeling like he's got to call and say, hey, where's your capital contribution, things like that. It's let the neutral third party platform do this. Everybody's looking at the same dashboard. And that's a huge part of this. And then the transparency, the bank account, all on the platform, the cap table, your notes, your voting, all right there. So you really are operating a partnership business on this platform with clear visibility to everything. And that's the key to this. It's not that, when you get in trouble is when there's mystery, right? And somebody's out and they've got things in a spreadsheet and, out here, and they've got a quarterly update, and between the quarters, you're kind of like wondering what's going on. Well, with Tribevest, you log in and you see everything, and it's all right there in front of us all. So we don't eliminate all the challenges that come with partnerships, Todd, as you can imagine.
Yeah, you can't, right? That's not a technology solution, right? That's a human emotion solution. I don't think you can do that.
We're not there yet.
Yeah, that's a tough problem to solve.
We try to eliminate all the things that turn into emotional human challenges up front.
Well, I mean, it's like any business, right? You come up with a business plan. You have a well thought out business plan. You have an agreement on how things are going to operate. You think about how, you're going to exit. And the more you think about, and the more you think about what are the pitfalls, what are the challenges we're going to have, how are we going to work around those solutions, the better off you're going to be, because you already know a lot of those answers, and you don't have to just, again, like you said, you don't have to have your emotions involved. And once emotions become involved, everybody becomes irrational. And so it just never works, right? It never works if you don't have a pre-established agreement. Somebody's always upset in the end, and you might go, hey, it worked out well for me. Well, it didn't work out well for the other, one or two people. Somebody's going to be hurt. But if you already have it set up and it's spelled out, it's a lot more challenging, I think. I mean, some people still can get hurt, but it's right there. It's like, hey, this is what we agreed upon. And, mostly, usually, not always, but cooler heads will prevail, right? If they go, yes, we did agree upon that. I'm not happy with what happened, but we agreed upon that. Okay, great.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And, again, by having those agreed upon rules up front, everybody comes in eyes wide open. And again, with the continued communication and transparency, we just, we're solving the challenges that come with partnerships. And I think the other thing here a little bit, there's a couple different tribes, right? There's those partnerships where people are out there investing in multiple deals, right?
Yep.
Together, and they're truly a real estate investor tribe partnership business. And those, of course, come with a lot more moving parts and decision making and all this stuff. And so your mindset and having all those things in place are super important. And then there's these like single deal tribes, right? And they're super unemotional, right? Like they're look, you've all independently made this decision because I'm not getting in the tribe unless I want to get in this deal.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So you can
Right.
imagine
Right.
that eliminates, I don't know, 99% of all the challenges that become, because you're really just, it really just becomes a vehicle at that point, less of a partnership business, even though it still is.
Makes sense. You've got a group of fundraisers out there. They will, they'll build relationships with syndicators, and then they'll want to come in. They'll create a fund, and they'll take some of that, allocated money and invest into a deal, and they'll make a little bit of profit on it. They'll, like you said, they maybe get that 80-20 split versus the 70-30 split. And so they're able to, maybe take that margin for themselves. Is this a platform that will allow that to happen, or is this not really set up for that?
It absolutely could. Meaning, if there's a manager, as just, in business partnership,
Yeah.
LLC terms, there's a member managed, and then there's a manager managed. And the manager managed is just in the operating agreement saying, the manager is responsible for these things.
Yep.
And in a lot of cases, there's a certain compensation or terms associated with that. And as long as it's upfront and all the active members understand that, then this can be a great vehicle for that, right? And especially if that person is bringing a ton of value, right? Like finding the deal, bringing the deal, all these things, then that's probably a good business, structure. In that scenario. Yeah.
Okay. Travis, let's pivot a little bit to just building this business and growing this business. I want to just to talk a little bit about the success that you've had, and maybe some of the key things that are really learning lessons that you took. So maybe, like, I don't know, 2, 3 big kind of moments. Did you have any big, like, paradigm shifts as you were going through this that you're like, wow, I really wish I would have known that before, or wow, this is how we build and grow?
Gosh, great question. And definitely, my favorite subject here. And just to set the stage, like, we truly are a fintech software as a service startup, from concept to now, real scaling, growth business. And so, the lessons and learnings have been many, for sure. But as I kind of reflect, going from concept to, customers, there's a ton of learning there, kind of our first 15 tribes, so to speak. And what we were then is what we are today too. I think that, like, going back to the core values of Tribevest, this idea of doing more together and doing it with people that you care about, doing amazing things together. That's very much the spirit of it. And you can imagine our first 100 tribes or so, it was very much that tight-knit groups wanting to do more together, and very much part of what we're doing. And then it came down to, can we scale this? Right? Can we scale this? Cool. We've got a nice little business here, but do we want to charge high services, or do we want to do this in a way that scales where we can impact millions of people, right? And this can be a tool that impacts humanity. And we're kind of dreamers over here. And that's what our purpose is and our mission is. So at some point we had to kind of figure that out of how do we turn this into what could be a nice service, high touch, high revenue, per tribe business, versus how do we make this accessible for everybody? And that was a big moment. And it just came down to continuing to build technology around some of the manual processes, and could we streamline it? For example, opening up a business bank account, right? Now we're integrated into the Secretary of States, all 50 Secretary of States. And within minutes, we're opening up an FDIC insured business bank account for the business. Within minutes. So
wow.
if everything's lined up, our technology allows you to now purchase or, buy a tribe and assemble your tribe, put capital in, and be transacting together in as little as 48 hours.
Wow.
So that's like what we had to do to kind of get to that point. And everybody's like, why, like, how are you guys in business $348 a year? And the answer is, for us, it's about getting to 100,000 tribes. And when we get to 100,000 tribes, we're $1 billion business. So anyway, that was kind of a big decision point for us. And we're really pleased we've gone this route. It's a hard route. And then most recently, I think what we're most excited about is what I'm calling is our open tribes. We really kind of turned what had to happen to get a tribe to start on its head, right? It had to start with a founder or a person. They had to assemble their tribe. They have to agree. They have to do all these things. And now with open tribes, it's more about the event, right? Is there a deal? Is there a strategy or whatever it is? And you open a tribe, and then the tribe just needs to join. So that's a big one for us. In fact, we're launching that at BEC in March here in Salt Lake at the Best Ever conference.
Best Ever conference. Yeah. Interesting. So I want to make sure I understand that and my audience understands that. So would somebody put a investment in the tribe, say, hey, yeah.
Well, great question. So what we're seeing is in these communities, they have sponsors come in and present, right? And then a tribe will open, right? So that's one way, meaning the event is a deal webinar where they're presenting to a bunch of interested investors.
Gotcha.
And you can, of course, invest directly, of course, and that's, preferred in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
But as a result of that event, we'll go ahead, or the community will go ahead and open up a open tribe for people to come in at maybe a little less than the minimum threshold, or as a way to get to a higher threshold, some type of better terms.
Yep.
And then, and so that's one. And then Todd, I'm excited to talk to you, but now we're talking to sponsors about how do they leverage an open tribe. And, when is this something that benefits the sponsors community, right? When a deal comes up, does it make sense to open up a tribe? Maybe, maybe not. It kind of depends on, what purpose does it serve and all those things.
Right,
does it
right.
help? But,
I would say in a lot of cases, the answer is probably yes, right? It depends too on, of course, the sponsor and how quickly they're able to raise capital for their deals. And if there's that need, of course. And so, for us, if we've got a deal that we're only raising $5 million on, for instance, like we have too many investors in-house that want in on that deal. We're only bringing it to our small group of investors. But if you've got a deal that's bigger and you got to raise more money, that's where it makes a lot of sense to, and even quite frankly, even the first scenario, it still can make sense because some investors do want in and they're like, I get that quite a bit. Like, hey, I like this deal a lot, but I'm not ready with 50 grand. I just invested in your last deal at 50 grand. And, but if you have that tribe set up, that could allow them to do that.
They, as it's about comfort and trust, right? And you have those investors that know you and trust you, and if it was up to them, they would love to do every deal with you, right? Because they're investing in the sponsor and everything else, and so what an open tribe could do for them is give them a chance to get into every deal that you're doing.
Yeah.
And then when you are raising, a bigger deal and you need to go out to an extended market, you can see the power of the network effect
sure.
of Tribevest, and then, some of your, regular investors, your core investors, it's also a chance for them to go out and introduce you or the sponsor to some of their friends. We were talking about that earlier, about how when you level up, you leave a little bit of other folks behind in terms of mindset and wealth. And I think we all want to give back. Like we all, when we uncover something new and we see something in a new light, like the first thing we want to do is say, oh my gosh, I have to share this with my brother. I have to share this with my neighbor. And sometimes those tribes are a fantastic way to expand the sponsors network too, and get people introduced into the community.
Yeah, I'm just, as you're talking here and we're having this conversation, I'm just thinking of some of the conversations I've had with some of my friends who definitely don't have $50,000, or even, even if I made an exception and said, hey, we would take $30,000, like that's a stretch for them. But but they're super interested. They want to get in. And I talk to a lot of people like, hey, once I get that money and I feel comfortable, I'm going to be in on your next deal. But that just allows them to get there a lot faster, right? It allows them to get in that deal at the $10,000 mark, or maybe even the $5,000 mark, whatever that might be. It allows them to get in, and everybody could probably put in different amounts too. I mean, you got to work that out obviously in your agreements, but it doesn't mean that one person can put in 20 and another person can't put in 5.
We track all the, we
track
track all the cap table and ownership table. So it's real easy. And we, for the sponsor too, remember we're, still only one investor, on your cap table,
right?
One K1, and we'll distribute the K1s. We'll, all those things with the tribe.
That's
too.
really cool.
So,
that's cool. And this is really cool. And I love that, you won't, you say you won't stop until every single deal on and off the internet is an opportunity for multiplayer experience. So, that's really cool. And I love that you're driving towards that.
Thank you. Yeah.
I got a couple little questions here, and then we definitely have to wrap. But one of the questions I like to ask everybody is what's a mistake? And I want to talk about just a mistake and how you've grown the business. What's a mistake that you've made growing this business, being a part of it, and how can our listeners, more importantly, how can our listeners learn from that?
Yeah, this is such an important question, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm dancing around it, but one of the required books for, when you join Tribevest is a book called The Lean Startup. And it's primarily about software startup companies, but man, it applies for every business. And it really is this mindset. But it's all about taking steps, right? In taking action and getting out what is called the minimal viable product, the MVP, which is of course now well known out there in terms of, but what it means, you really need to understand and read the book, but it's about experiential learning and doing it in a way where you just expect to fall, you expect to fail. And so that's definitely one of the main things about our organization is it's a safe place to do that. But like if I think about just lessons, it's about how do I help people understand my strengths and my weaknesses and communicating those. And I found like the more effectively I can do that, just the better we work as a team. And that's something right now I'm really working on is, communicating those weaknesses. And I figured out when that happens, people lean in, people help,
people
right?
want to help and step in.
Yeah. But like you're hiring good people, that, right? And they're high integrity and they're all in. And then you come kind of these gaps. And I think it really comes down to that communication. And so when you do make yourself vulnerable, people want to help. People want to help. And it works both ways.
Yeah. And if you're, obviously if you're a good leader and a good person, they're wanting to do that for you. They're excited to do that for you. And they feel a level of importance, right? But if you never open yourself up and you're always, hey, I can do everything, then people just don't understand that they can help you there. And I agree. You have to open yourself up to, hey, these are my strengths. These are my weaknesses. Like I need help with these things. Something I've struggled with, I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, is like opening yourself up to your weaknesses, because we want to all think like we got it all together, right? Somehow.
Well, we have to convince ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Because, it's that founder mentality, right? Like, we're doing it all.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean we're good at it all.
Yeah.
But we're going to find a way. We will do it. And so, at some point in the business, when you need other people to help scale, is the time to kind of get honest with ourselves.
Yep, 100%. Okay. Last, you gave us a book. Do you have any other books? The Lean Startup. Do you have any other book recommendations you want to give?
Absolutely. I'm guessing this is about 100% of the time, game changer for me, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kawasaki, definitely was a huge one for me. A little bit of that goes back a long time. So I'll stop at those. Yeah.
Travis, last question here before we wrap up. What are your 3 pillars of wealth creation?
Yeah, I would say ownership, community, and the tribe. Right. And I'll start with the community. You need to surround yourself with a community that supports you, right? And that understand you. And often that's not the people around you in your immediate circle. So the key here is go hang with people that are absolutely driven like you and stretch you. So find that community. 2, within that community, find your tribe. And a tribe represents taking action. Right? It represents a way to take action into the next level, into the next step. And so that might mean just becoming an investor, right? For the first time. It might mean becoming a better investor. It might be becoming next level, whatever it is. And then 3rd, ownership. So when you take that action, you gotta find ownership in what you're doing and in what you're investing in, right? So ownership comes with options. right? And that's why private investing is so much like, you got to get out of the stock market. You got to get out of the stock market. Quit trading paper, right? Yeah. It's such a, we've been told and trained, and at some point we have to come out of that. But hopefully this helps. Like, you need ownership in something. And when you have ownership in something, you have options, right? Yeah. Real estate's beautiful, right? It's conservative, but still high, opportunity kind of thing because of the options that come with it. And you can rent it, you can flip it, you can sell it, you can live in it. When you have those things, you can figure out different ways of building wealth creation, getting creative on taxes, getting creative on your strategies. And Todd, you know this better than anybody, right? I mean, that's what you've done in the business you're building is, with that ownership, you can really create wealth. Yeah. You're doing that for yourself and your investors.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Love it. Love it. Well, Travis, man, this has been fantastic. I've loved learning about Tribevest. I think it's a fantastic business. Really appreciate you and taking this. Hey, my brothers and I want to invest and put our money together to actually creating something then of value for now a lot of people. And it's going to continue to affect a lot more in the years to come. So I'm excited to see how your company continues to grow, how it continues to positively affect people and get them into deals and opportunities that they otherwise maybe wouldn't have an option to get into. So very, grateful for you for building this business. Of course, I wish you the best of luck and continue to grow and be profitable and that whole thing. And excited to see the journey, man. So thanks for joining us, and thanks for all the fantastic information.
Likewise, Todd, keep up the important, great work you're doing as well. And, excited to work together. I think our missions are aligned, so who knows what that means for us. But yeah, thanks again for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the fun things I have to say about interviewing people is as a business owner, I think business owners definitely get a lot of negative flack, from a lot of people that don't understand it. But there's business owners are creating. And so many are creating just really cool things, really cool concepts, and just that's what it's all about, right? It's all about creating something so useful that other people are, and usually it starts with a problem that person had. It's so often I hear that I had this problem and I had to figure out how to solve it. And then I was like, whoa, other people have the same problem too. I wonder if we can give them a solution as well. And we created a business out of it. It's so cool to talk to people that are creating and just making an impact and difference in the world. So again, commend you for that, man. You have a fantastic rest of the day, and thanks so much.
Thanks, Todd. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you being a loyal listener. I would love to have you go on to our Facebook page and subscribe, give us a thumbs up, go on to iTunes or wherever you listen and give us a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe. Your rating and review just helps us push this out to more and more people and continue to grow our audience and hopefully positively affect a ton of people out there that really need this and want this. So the other thing I've got for you is a free ebook on my website. So go on to venturedproperties.com, and download our free ebook on real estate and on syndication. And I've got some data points in there, some really good stuff for you. So I'd love to have you take a look at that. It's free. I'm not expecting anything from it. And also, look, if you want some help in multifamily, want some help learning, growing, getting your business off the ground, I would love to talk to you about what it would look like to work with me potentially and see if that's a good fit. So you can go to coachwithdex.com and check that out, and we can definitely have a call.
Thanks a lot for listening. You make it a fantastic rest of the day. I'll catch you on the next episode.